Picture this. You're enjoying your lunch break and are just going to scoop up a dollop of the freshly baked mac and cheese. Hold for a second. Have you ever pondered the origins of that mouth-watering cheese that gives the crust its signature crunch and golden color? Make sure you subscribe and press the bell so you don't miss our behind-the-scenes tours of the most renowned delicacies. We'll give you the lowdown on all the juicy details later. Okay, let's start with the most fundamentals. Starting with milk, ideally from cows, but occasionally from goats, sheep, or even buffaloes if you're in the mood for something fancy, is the first step in making cheese. After heating the milk, the curds and whey are separated by adding rennet and starting cultures. There are a lot of variables that go into making cheese, including the milk, the bacteria, the aging process, and any additional seasonings like salt, smoke, or unicorn dust. The unicorn dust portion, though, is out. Now that we know what goes into making cheese, let's dig in and see how everything fits together. Among the many varieties of cheese available, let's focus on the one that makes the best grilled cheese or pizza that melts beautifully when baked. The story begins with something truly remarkable: contented cows. Indeed, it is believed that contented cows produce superior milk, and several farmers are doing extraordinary efforts to ensure that their cows truly thrive. What I mean by happy is more than simply providing a comfortable enclosure and then leaving them alone. Seriously, we're talking about first-class service here. Envision this: a carefree cow basking in the sun while munching on some grass. This is life, isn't it? The freshest, creamiest milk is coming from these content cows since they are free to graze and travel anywhere they choose. Now you only need to pay attention to technique and care when you go to acquire the milk. While some farms still utilize the time-honored method of milking cows by hand, the majority have adopted the usage of milking machines, which are said to be gentler on the animals. After the milk is ready, it's a short trip to the dairy plant to undergo the magic process of turning it into the beloved cheese that we all know and love. Prior to beginning the cheese-making process, it is imperative that the milk be of the highest quality. This is why milk goes through a series of tests to guarantee it is both fresh and bacterium-free. We may go on to pasteurization if all the necessary approvals are in place. This is a really technical term, but it essentially means let's heat the milk to kill any bad bacteria, but not so hot that we ruin the good stuff. In order to do this, the milk is heated to around 160 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 seconds, which kills any harmful bacteria without destroying the desired flavor and nutrients. However, there is still more work to be done. Specific components must be added in order to transform milk into cheese. Two essential components, rennet and starting cultures, must be added. The milk curdles with the aid of the rennet, a specialized enzyme. The starting microorganisms impart the cheese's distinctive flavor, just how a sorcerer's spell solidifies milk into curds. All right, it's time to start working, these yeasty tiny assistants say. The milk starts to curdle and separate into curds and whey as the rennet works its magic. The original liquid milk is now taking on a cheese-like appearance. The milk has curdled and now comes the time to slice it. But not just any old slice. Oh no, accuracy is our strong suit here. In order to get that wonderful creamy feel, the curds are chopped into small, homogeneous pieces. This helps them release the remaining liquid whey. You may attribute the sight of a massive block of cheese to this particular stage. Cook the curds and gently stir them once they're done. The next thing to do is focus on achieving the ideal texture. To make the curds more hard and cheese-like, they are cooked to the perfect temperature. At this point, the velvety texture begins to solidify. If it's too chilly, the cheese will dry up. If it's too hot, it will become a soupy mess. The curds will now be the main attraction, while the whey, well, it needs to leave. The liquid that remains following the formation of curds is known as whey. Although a small portion finds its way into other goods, such as protein powders or even animal feed, the vast majority is extracted and discarded. It was nice running with you, honey. Goodbye. To get rid of any excess whey, the curds are carefully squeezed into molds once they have solidified a bit. What a result! Milk in its liquid form is beginning to take on a more recognizable appearance, much like the cheese that we all adore. The last thing to do before aging cheese is to salt it. A pinch of salt does double duty. It enhances the cheese's taste and aids in its preservation. The cheese obtains its distinctive sourness at this stage. The level of saltiness and flavor that you get in cheeses like cheddar, mozzarella, and Gouda is directly proportional to the amount of salt that you use. When you use too much salt, it tastes like you picked up the incorrect shaker by accident. When you use too little, it just doesn't cut it. But when you get it just right, your mac and cheese will sparkle with flavor. The semi-hard and hard cheeses are the real deal when it comes to crafting the kind of cheese that everyone loves on grilled sandwiches. When it comes to cheese, they are the mainstays. Age is like a cheese gratin, steadily improving as it rises up the ranks. Depending on the cheese you're creating, the age procedure could take a few weeks or a few months. All those nuanced tastes come together here, like a cheese earning a doctorate in deliciousness. Now we'll talk about cheddar. It's arguably the most well-known cheese in the world. A 6-month cheddar has a soft, velvety texture, while a 5-year-old cheddar is sharp, robust, and full of personality. Finally, the day has come to package and transport your beloved cheese before it reaches the shelves of your local grocery shop. The result is the delicious mac and cheese you enjoy, made from milk from content cows. Just keep in mind that a content cow, some science, and some patience were the initial ingredients the next time you chow down on a cheese feast. And you're also a master when it comes to creating cheese. Envision yourself in fields bathed in sunshine, where the aroma of ripening raspberries permeates the air, a combination of sweet and tart. Imagine now that the natural fruit is turning into the beloved spread that everyone knows and loves, raspberry jam. Creating raspberry jam in a factory is an interesting procedure, and we'll show you the steps in today's video. We will go into each stage of the process, beginning with the berry harvest and ending with the jar's sealing and shipment. If you would like to see more instructional videos about common dishes and their preparation, please subscribe and like the video. Now that we've covered the beginnings of jam making, let's go inside the factory. Raspberries, being a fragile fruit, have particular needs for optimal growth. Their ideal growing conditions are cool weather, lengthy, moderate summers, and soil that drains well. The United Kingdom and Oregon, USA, are well known for producing excellent raspberries. They thrive in our climate, soaking up the rain and sun to create jam-worthy berries. The optimal harvest from raspberry bushes is the result of meticulous care given to the plants during the growth season. Raspberries, in contrast to other fruits, are delicate and must be plucked by hand. When harvesting fruit, workers must be swift but careful so as not to damage the fruit. Raspberries are at their sweetest when they are ripe, plump, and a rich red hue. After being selected, they are meticulously arranged into boxes or baskets, preparing to be sent to the processing plant. The raspberries undergo preliminary sorting after they are unloaded at the facility. Because jam is made with only the finest raspberries, this stage is very important. After the berries are inspected for damage, underripeness, or overripeness, they are sorted. When it comes to quality control, some firms utilize high-tech machinery to remove contaminants, while others still use human hands. The next step is a thorough washing to eliminate any trace of dirt, stones, or pesticides from the raspberries. Carefully positioned in expansive washing tanks, delicate jets of water delicately cleanse each berry without causing any harm. The berries must remain undamaged during this procedure since their form and consistency will influence the end result. Crushing the raspberries is the next step after cleaning them. The berries are often crushed or pulped in contemporary facilities. This apparatus delicately purees the fruit, which will serve as the jam's foundation. After collection, the pulp is moved into big cooking kettles. The sugar and raspberry puree are used here to make the jam delicious and preserve the berries. A common ratio is around 60% fruit to 40% sugar. However, this might vary depending on the sweetness and consistency you're going for. To avoid burning or overcooking, the mixture is carefully watched as it starts to cook. The amount of time needed to cook anything might range from 20 minutes to an hour, depending on the machinery and production level. The raspberry pectin is released at this stage, which helps the jam thicken and achieves the ideal spreadability. At this point, temperature management is of the utmost importance. For proper setting, the jam needs to achieve a specific temperature, usually approximately 220 degrees Fahrenheit or 104 degrees Celsius. The spoon test is a simple way to determine if jam is the correct thickness. Some manufacturers utilize sophisticated equipment to assess consistency and temperature, while others use it. Jarring the jam is the next step after it has attained the desired consistency. Carefully, the hot jam is ladled into sterile jars. Automated machinery in huge factories can fill and seal jars at a rate of hundreds per minute. Still, this is the phase where quality control is really crucial. We check every jar for air bubbles and seal defects to make sure the jam stays fresh for a long time. The jars are covered with lids that fit snugly after filling to keep air out. The air is removed from the jar before sealing using vacuum sealing techniques, which some firms utilize to make jam last longer on store shelves. Pasteurization extends the jam's shelf life and makes it safe to eat. This method involves subjecting the sealed jars to a controlled heating for a certain duration in order to eradicate any potentially hazardous germs or microbes. The jam's color, taste, and nutrients are all kept intact after pasteurization. Once pasteurization is complete, the jars are sent to a chilling station to cool down at a slow rate. The jars are moved to the labeling station once they have cooled. Branding, ingredients, expiration date, and product name are meticulously labeled on each jar here. Even though most major factories automate their labeling processes, meticulous attention is paid to the placement and design of the labels to ensure correctness. The last step is to package the jam jars into cartons, and then they are ready to be sent out to retailers, wholesalers, and consumers. From the manufacturer to your neighborhood grocery shop, the jam will remain safe and undamaged thanks to the packing. Your jar of raspberry jam has arrived at your doorstep after an arduous and meticulous production procedure. Raspberry jam is the ideal way to savor summer flavors all year round, whether you're making it at home or using it as part of a morning breakfast buffet. Every jar of raspberry jam is the result of many hands-on hours of labor, beginning in the fields and ending on your table. Now you'll have a better idea of where that tasty jam came from the next time you put some on some toast. To all you gourmets out there, how does one go about making their beloved bagel? An amazing journey of science, tradition, and of course deliciousness begins with the harvest of wheat in the fields and ends with the golden brown bagel you grab on your morning run. Make sure you subscribe and enable alerts if you're new here so you won't miss a single thrilling culinary adventure. A trip back in time several centuries is required to really appreciate the bagel. The bagel's origin tale starts in the 17th century in Poland and the rest of Eastern Europe. Legend has it that the bagel was originally baked in 1683 as a gift to King Jan II Sobieski of Poland following his triumph over the Ottoman Turks. The flawless ring of the bagel was believed to represent the stirrup of a horse, a tribute to the king's military might. The bagel followed the Jewish community as it expanded across Europe. Despite its widespread use in Jewish bakeries, the bagel did not reach the United States until the early 1900s, when Jewish settlers in New York City imported it. Bagels were a hit on New York City's Lower East Side in the 1920s. However, how can modern companies produce such enormous quantities of consistently tasty bagels? The wheat is the foundation. Every delicious bagel starts with flour that is grown in a field. Traditional bagels get their chewy texture from wheat varieties that farmers choose for their high protein and gluten content. To make flour, the wheat is washed and processed at the mill after harvest. It sounds simpler than this procedure actually is. Before being ground into the fine flour perfect for bagels, the wheat is meticulously sifted to remove any impurities. Because it determines the dough's structure and elasticity, The protein quantity must be precisely calibrated. Once the flour has been transferred, it is brought to the bagel factory, where the true magic takes place. Massive mixers built to handle big quantities are used to make dough in a bagel factory. The mixer is first filled with flour. Although it serves as the base, flour is not the sole component. Factories use a specific combination of salt, water, yeast, and sweeteners such barley malt syrup to create the dough. These two ingredients work together to make the dough rise properly, which in turn gives the bagel its delicate sweetness and ideal texture. Once you add all of the ingredients, the mixer will go to work. In order to make a smooth and elastic dough, the components are combined for around 10 to 12 minutes at high speeds. Bagels require a dough that is solid yet pliable. If it's too soft, the bagels will be too airy, and if it's too firm, the bagels will be too hard. When the dough is at the proper consistency, set it aside to rest. The gluten in the dough relaxes and makes it simpler to work with as it rests. The dough is still very big, so the firm has to separate it into smaller portions. The dough is automatically divided into equal portions at the factory using dividers. A standard-sized bagel typically contains around 3 to 4 ounces of dough. Critically, form the dough into an ideal spherical form. Unlike in a factory where automatic machines accomplish the rolling, traditional bagel creation requires human hands. The boiling procedure is what really distinguishes bagels from other bread products. Once the dough has been molded, it's time to add the chewy, thick texture that is characteristic of bagels. Baking follows a quick boiling of the bagels in water. Water is usually heated to a temperature slightly below boiling in most companies, which is usually between 96 and 99 degrees Celsius, 205 to 210 degrees Fahrenheit. If you want your bagels to turn out with a shiny golden brown crust, try adding a little baking soda to the water before baking. The signature chewy outside and slightly soft inside of bagels are both created when they are boiled, which causes them to puff up. The bagels are retrieved from the water and drained gently after boiling, and then they are ready to be baked. The time has come to put the boiling bagels in an oven, but not just old oven will do. A conveyor belt oven is a specialized kind of oven. The technology enables continuous production by utilizing a belt to transport the bagels through the oven, ensuring a uniform and consistent baking outcome. Baking bagels at high temperatures, often ranging from 232 to 246 degrees Celsius, 450 to 475 degrees Fahrenheit, for around 10 to 12 minutes is standard practice. They go through a miraculous metamorphosis in the oven, turning golden and crispy on the outside while staying soft and chewy on the inside. To make sure each bagel gets the ideal amount of heat, the conveyor belt runs at the ideal velocity. Because of the crucial boiling stage, bagels keep their moisture and thickness, unlike normal bread. These bagels have the ideal amount of baking time to develop their characteristic glossy golden brown crust. Many bagels are adorned with tasty toppings, such as sesame seeds, poppy seeds, everything spice, or other flavorings. Some bagels are kept plain, though. The next step is to add seeds, onions, or other flavorings to the bagels, which can be done manually or mechanically. Because it's about more than simply flavor, this phase is critical for developing the distinctive look of each bagel. To enhance the crust's gentle sheen and sweetness, some bagels are additionally drizzled with a little sugar syrup glaze. The bagels can be ready for packaging once they have been cooked, topped, and drizzled. Whatever the facility uses for packaging, bagels are meticulously placed in trays or bags. Both human hands and mechanical robots are capable of packaging bagels. For added convenience, some companies even sell bagels that have already been cut. To keep the bagels fresh after packaging, they are packed firmly. To further increase the product's shelf life without adding preservatives, some manufacturers even employ nitrogen to remove oxygen from the packing. The bagels are prepared for shipment once they have been packed. They are stacked onto shipping pallets and then distributed to bakeries and retailers, where bagel enthusiasts may savor them. What follows is a detailed account of the steps involved in making bagels in a factory, beginning with the selection of high-quality wheat in the fields and ending with their packing. The procedure may appear mechanical, yet each bagel is handmade to ensure the ideal blend of freshness, texture, and flavor. Regardless of your preferred topping, toasted cream cheese, smoked salmon, or onions, these essential yet basic procedures are the foundation of every bagel. So the next time you want a bagel, you'll know more about the skill and attention to detail that goes into producing them. Envision yourself sitting down to breakfast just before you butter your toast. However, have you ever pondered the origin of that small bit of butter? Amazingly, it all begins with contented cows. There are farmers out there who would stop at nothing to guarantee their cows are content. Yes, I'm referring to virtual reality goggles for cows. Visualize these plump cattle lounging in their stables, enjoying a serene scenery on their virtual reality headsets. This ensures that the cows remain calm and collected during the milking process. Not tame at all, is it? But why bother going to such trouble to make these cows happy? Why? Because milk quality increases when cows are not under stress. Additionally, the first stage in creating butter is obtaining high-quality milk. The cows enter an absolutely remarkable automatic milking system after they are calm and prepared. I have a small favor to ask before we go on. Hit that like button and subscribe if you're having fun with the video. You won't pay a dime, but it will have a profound impact on our organization. In this setup, a milking unit is prepared and waiting for each cow when it enters its assigned stall. These machines aren't your average milking parlor. They're incredibly delicate and use regulated vacuum pressure to naturally extract milk. If we want milk that tastes well and is creamy, we have to make sure the cows are comfortable as we place the cups on them. Optimal aspect? There is absolutely no human interaction since the milk flows directly into containers. There is more to the milk than merely creating butter after it is obtained. To begin with, it must pass a battery of quality tests. After all, you wouldn't want to use any old milk in your butter. The milk proceeds to the next, and most important, stage after passing these tests. It is placed in a centrifuge, a machine that spins the milk very quickly. As a result, the cream may be more easily extracted from the milk. It's a lot quicker than the conventional method of letting things sort themselves out. Two primary byproducts are obtained during centrifugation: skimmed milk and cream. Now, as a side note, skim milk doesn't have the full rich flavor of whole milk, so it might not be everyone's favorite. Anybody trying to cut back on fat would love it because it's so healthful. After the cream is separated, it is homogenized and then heated to destroy any bacteria, a process known as pasteurization. Similar to letting bread rise before baking, the cream is given time to develop after pasteurization. As the cream ages, it begins to change into butter granules, a miraculous byproduct. The foundation of the butter that we like are these little delicate grains. We can't get enough of this spreadable, creamy butter until the last process, washing the grains, is complete. Why? This is due to the fact that any residual buttermilk, which can impart a sour taste to the butter, is eliminated when the butter grains are washed. Although some may find the idea of sour butter appealing, the majority of people actually prefer the taste of pure, thick, creamy butter. Thus, the end butter will be silky and full of taste thanks to the washing procedure. A little seasoning, primarily salt, is added to the butter grains after washing. You can find salted butter here, and let's be honest, it's the best topping ever. What follows is an explanation of churning. The butter's true flavor emerges at this stage. To bring the fat molecules together, churning involves constantly stirring the butter mixture. It's similar to working with dough, except we're turning it into butter instead of bread. That velvety, creamy feel that everyone loves is produced during this procedure. Curious fact: butter was a kind of payment in ancient times due to its high value. Envision yourself shopping for groceries at the store and paying with butter packets. When the butter has been whipped to a creamy consistency, it may be molded. The process of shaping the butter into the desired shape is really quite entertaining to observe, as it is forced through an extruder. Also, there are hand-molded butters for individuals who like a more handmade feel. For those who appreciate presentation as much as flavor, these exquisite butter spreads are a must-have. After the butter has been molded, it may be sealed. The machines here are absolutely state-of-the-art. One sets up the tubes, another adds the butter, and a third uses golden paper to wrap it all up. Moving on to the barcode station, the butter is transported on a conveyor belt. This may seem like an unnecessary extra step, but it is essential for tracking all packages and getting them ready for sale. But hold on a second, that's not all. Ghee is another kind of butter that tastes equally good, if not better. Ghee is the more refined relative of butter. Melted butter is boiled until the water evaporates and the milk solids separate from the fat. This is how it is formed. Pure golden ghee remains, an ideal cooking oil with a deep, nutty taste. Perfect for baking, frying, and sautéing because to its higher smoke point than ordinary butter, which makes it less likely to burn. The ghee is transferred to containers after it is ready and allowed to cool before being sent to the packaging facility. After the ghee is strained through a sieve to remove any impurities, it is sealed to preserve its buttery richness. So there you have it, the complete story of how butter is made from cows and beyond. The procedure is complex and interesting whether the end product is salted butter, artisanal butter, or ghee. Butter was made with a lot of love, science, and technology. The next time you want some, you'll know exactly what went into it. Take a moment to appreciate the beauty behind that properly buttered bread or dripping ghee over your favorite dish the next time you eat it. Now watch our other films if you share my interest in discovering more about the intriguing world of food production. Leave a comment with your favorite way to utilize butter, whether it's salted or unsalted, and a like or subscribe if you liked the video. Excited to receive your response!